Welcome to day 2 of the 5-day reset. If you're tired of second guessing yourself, feeling stuck despite your best efforts, and living a life that looks fine but feels wrong, this 5-day experience will show you what's really been holding you back and how to finally reset. How is everyone doing today? It's good to see so many of you on. Let's blow up the chat. Let us know in the chat if you were here yesterday. And how are you feeling today? Amazing. Good to see so many. Keep the comments coming in. Who is ready for today's session? Today's topic is the big con. I love this lesson, and I want to share something personal about this lesson, the big con, because it really impacted me. I realized how many beliefs and rules I had subscribed to that never really actually felt true for me, but I had accepted them anyway. I grew up believing there was something wrong with me. I grew up in a violent home, and when my father left, I made that mean I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't lovable. And without even realizing it, those beliefs shaped how I moved through life. I got into some trouble when I was younger. And looking back, now I can see that it was because I felt misunderstood and unloved. I didn't fit into the rules I was being told to live by. This lesson helped me see that so much of what we believe about ourselves isn't true. It's something we were taught, something we adopted along the way. And that's why I love this part of the work so much. The action steps invite you to look at what you've been conned into believing, the man-made rules you accepted that don't actually align with who you are, and then begin writing your own. And I really believe you're going to get a lot out of this lesson. So before we begin, let's cover some housekeeping items and reminders. If you're watching live, participate. Know this, you always get out whatever you put in. So participate fully. Don't make this something you watch and forget about. Follow the directions Doug offers and let the process this week work on you. Now, if you prefer your reminders by WhatsApp, be sure to join the community for announcements. Remember, the portal page is where you'll find everything you need. So make sure you check your inbox for more details, and don't forget to check your spam or junk folder. Join our Facebook group. That's where all the action steps for each day will be posted. And before we continue, I want to make sure we add one more quick housekeeping item around the action steps. After each session, you'll find the replay inside the portal. And right there, you'll also see a link to the action steps. That link will take you into the Facebook group where you'll find a pin post each day. Inside that post, you can read the instructions, download the PDF, and print it if you like. What we're asking you to do is complete the exercise and then share your thoughts or comments in the group. We want to see. So make sure you're doing this. And if you want, you can also take a photo of your worksheet and upload it into the group. Now, as long as you leave a comment and or upload your completed exercise in some form, you'll qualify to be entered into the draw to win an autographed copy of the book. Now, before we dive into day 2, let's briefly review what we uncovered yesterday. Here's the key message Doug wanted to take with you yesterday. You didn't fail. You were trying to solve a problem you didn't understand, and that's why nothing worked. So let's get started and bring Doug back on.
I am ready to go. How are you, everybody? Good to see you, virtually anyway. You're just to my right here. I've got trying to look at you in the camera here, but I can see to the right the YouTube feed. So I'll keep an eye on this. Um, I have to warn you, folks, some people complain about my music. And so if you want to work with me, you're going to have to live with my music choices. Usually it's pretty good. Today was not so good. I kind of hit a shuffle on a playlist. And anyway, so ignore the music, but we're going to have some fun anyway. I just want to talk to you about a couple quick things before we get going. Number one, before I forget, if you have questions, so I'm going to try and keep an eye on the YouTube feed here. Hi, Sunny. Who else is here? Barbara. Sacred Night Rose Healing. Hi there, Doug. Hello, hello. I'm going to try to keep an eye on this. And if I see a question that comes up that's relative to the topic today, I might bring that up and address it. But if you have questions, do me a favor, write down your questions because we are going to have an opportunity for you to get together live with us on Zoom in a Zoom meeting room on Friday, and that's where you can ask all of your questions. So if you have questions as they come up, jot them down. Just keep a little notepad or something and save them for Friday afternoon or Friday evening, depending on where you are in the world. I noticed in the chat here in the comments as we started, people talking about how they're feeling. Some people are feeling fired up and calmer. Some people are tired. Let me tell you this: if the what I call side effects of this change, okay? So we're the first thing we're doing here is we're bringing your awareness to some things you might not be aware of, and we're also bringing to your awareness the cause of some of your problems. I don't like dealing with the effects, I don't like dealing with the problems in your life. I'd rather show you the cause of the problem so you're better equipped to deal with the problems that come with you. And as we go through this process, you will have a physical reaction. Um, Maybe on Friday, if we have time, I'll explain how I'm able to shift people's thinking so quickly and so effectively. There is a science to the way I design these 5 days, and so the reason you're feeling differently, there is a specific reason, and I am doing something that is helping that happen. And I always say, if I can do that to you, you can do that to you. Now, if you're not feeling so good, that's good news too. Okay. I don't know if you guys saw the photo I talked about yesterday. That I had really terrible rosacea. My skin was really inflamed on my face because of, the things I was going through that I talked about yesterday during my self-help personal development period. And I posted that photo in the Facebook group and into the WhatsApp chat. And so that was side effects of everything that I was enduring, primarily in my mind, my thinking, my emotions, my nervous state, my own self-image, etc. But as you clear things up, and I use the word purge, as we go through these 5 days, I'm kind of stirring some things up, not to just, you know, stir everything up and it becomes really messy and cloudy. Stir things up so you can see them because it's like kind of like sediment on the bottom of a glass. You got a clear glass of water and there's sand on the bottom. And so we're kind of stirring it up, trying to find the junk, and then you'll be able to pull that out. So the good news is pay attention to your physical response, but don't let your physical response control your thinking. Okay? Just let this whole process happen over the course of these 5 days. So I want to welcome you back. Yesterday, we talked about something that most people never really question, the belief that something's wrong with them. I felt that way for a long time, as you heard. Many people I've talked to have felt the same way. And you have this belief or some variation of it, but we're not really asking the right questions, never really questioning that belief, that it is just simply a belief. It's not actually true. But you believe it's true. If you believe something is true to you, it must be true even when it's not. We talked about shame, fear, confusion, emotional pain that many people carry without understanding actually where it comes from. So that was me. Like the first 40 years of my life, that's what it was like. Very confused, a lot of fear, a lot of shame, a lot of mixed emotions, real contradiction internally until the story came out. But I shared parts of my story, including living for decades with this emotional pain that didn't make sense until much later in life. And part of my mission, of course, is I don't want people, I don't think it's right. I think it's plain wrong that people continue to suffer emotionally, especially emotionally, because of what they went through in their past. I don't think anybody needs to remain victim, and as was yesterday, I'm on this massive jailbreak trying to free people from their emotional prison, open up the cellar door and invite you out. And so for me, I got all this pain and decades of suffering, and then my second marriage ends. Memories surface. My life starts to make sense, but understanding my story didn't free me. So, yesterday I said my marriage breaks down, and I go for counseling, and this wonderful counselor, Ellen, in all her wisdom and guidance and brilliance, led me to uncover this story. And so then a lot of my life made sense. But just understanding my story, that didn't free me. Not completely. It freed me from a lot of things. Like I got rid of, I had no negative emotions towards the men that abused me or my parents. Like all this crap just literally fell off my shoulders. It almost felt almost instant the day that newspaper came out, and things continued to fall away. A lot of weight fell off of my shoulders, but it didn't free me completely. So just check in from yesterday. Um, if yesterday helped you question the belief that something's wrong with you, did that help you kind of question the belief? Did you start to kind of feel like, oh, maybe there's nothing wrong with me at all? Anybody like that? Just type yes in the chat if that kind of released some things for you yesterday. Who else is here? Lee is here. Stephanie. Cool. Any yeses on that? Let me know. So today, I'm going to explain, you'll understand why progress never seems to stick. Just when things improve, something pulls you back. You'll discover what really blocks you. It's not what you think. There's actually something else. You'll see why that pattern exists, what's really causing it, and how to stop repeating it. What's that quote from Einstein? The definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, trying to get a different result. For me, I kept doing the wrong thing over and over, trying to get it right. All right. And so we want to talk about what's really causing this and how to stop repeating it. Today, I'm going to share the truths I discovered that set me free, and I'll show you what I did and how I did it. Because I know you want a better life, but maybe you don't know where to start. And like me, I presume you're tired of going down the rabbit hole trying to figure out your problems. So you're going to understand where you went wrong and what you can do about it. And you'll understand what's really holding you back. And then you can stop second guessing yourself and you can actually start moving. So let's get into it. Most people here aren't stuck because they haven't tried. You've tried. Maybe like me, books, therapy, courses, affirmations, visualization, motivation. So it's not like you were lazy. You were searching for clarity, calm, and peace of mind. The ultimate goal in life is peace of mind. And then when these things don't work, you're the one left with the feeling that there's something wrong with you. You blame yourself. And one thing about the self-help world that really bothered me is they would blame the client that you did something wrong, or you're not following instructions, or you're not doing this, or you're not doing that. Now, that may be true, but I don't think we should postulate the idea that when you're trying something and it doesn't work, that the blame falls on you. What I discovered is I was doing the wrong things for the wrong reasons, and I was misdiagnosed. Not to use a medical term, but I think many people, at least the people I talk to thousands of people a year. I believe that they are misdiagnosed or they've misdiagnosed themselves, and so then they're doing the wrong things, and no wonder it's not going to work. If you're trying to take a prescription for a headache, or you've got a headache, but you're taking a prescription for a tummy ache, like you're going to end up maybe with more pain, and then you have to live with that struggling, that suffering, the frustration, the anger, the guilt, the embarrassment, whatever these emotions are, that while you try to so-called find out what's wrong with you or fix yourself, you're the one that ends up blaming yourself. Um, Anybody ever thought like me, why can't you figure this out? I mean, I was going like, why can't I figure this out? Because like I said, yes, I consider myself a pretty intelligent guy. And I've had all kinds of problems in my life, and I've solved all kinds of problems. I've become successful in different areas of my life and business. I felt like I was smart. I go, how come I can't figure this out? Anybody else feel like that? Yeah? Darren, my friend, Jane, Rafal, Monica, the Jonesy Four. I wonder who that is. The Jonasy, the Jonasy Four. Like it, or maybe it is Jonesy Four. No, that's a good. I'm glad that you don't have that question. Good for you. Listen, when my marriage ended, I remember sitting alone in a quiet house thinking one thought over and over and over, how did I get here again? And I wasn't just grieving the relationship, I was questioning myself. What's wrong with me? Why do I keep repeating these patterns? Why can't I be different? Why can't I do this different? Why can't I figure this out? And that moment, it wasn't dramatic, it was quiet, and it was really, really heavy. And many people carry that quiet heaviness their entire lives. What a lousy way to live. And that's how I felt. I go, God, what a lousy way for me to be living. And what's lousier for people is they don't know what to do about it, and you can easily become a victim of your own confusion. And I use my victim mentality. It was very convenient being a victim because you can come up with really great excuses and alibis. And I did that for quite a while, and it was a couple people that really changed my mind about that. And I think, I was justified in some respects that I was not responsible for what I went through when I was a kid. And it was not my fault. It wasn't because of me. And it explained, of course, a lot of the troubles and problems and mistakes I was making. But ultimately, I was responsible to take control over my life and start to write a new story. So I made my mind up. I go, I don't want to be a victim because if you're a victim, then you also have to be a villain, and that's an inner conflict. And so this whole victim mentality, what I discovered actually is it's not a great way to live. And there's a lot of victim narratives that are very popular on social media now. I see them come up on my social media feed all the time, and I'm always kind of sometimes I'll chime in and try to encourage people to get out of this narrative because you have no idea how that is eroding your own integrity. And if you do things to erode your integrity, okay, it's going to erode your emotional and your mental and your physical state, and you're only going to cause yourself even more problems. Okay. So we don't want to live that way. I was mistaken about so many things, and my mistaken identity continued to cause me problems. Now, the self-help world, when I got into it talks about identity, but most of the teaching still says act like the person that you want to become. Fake it till you make it, and that actually creates pressure. And common dialogue I hear from people is, um, I feel like an imposter, or I've got imposter syndrome, or I feel like a fraud. And it does create more pressure because you don't know if the person you're acting like is even you. Okay. So you perform, you imitate, you compare, and the more you perform, the more lost you feel. Have you ever acted confident, pretended to be confident on the outside while feeling unsure on the inside? I mean, that's pretty much how I was operating and living. There were mornings working with Bob, would I be driving in my car before meetings with him or seminars that we were running, or during COVID, we were running online seminars from his studio. And I'd be driving down thinking about the meeting and what I was going to do. I'd take a breath, I'd rehearse what I was going to say. I tell myself, you got this, Doug, try and relax. But the more I rehearsed in my own mind as I was driving along, the more I began to sweat. And then by the time I got to Bob's office, or by the time I got to the seminar, the event, I'd be embarrassed because now my palms were sweaty and my shirt was wet with perspiration. But I'd walk in smiling, while feeling like I was about to be exposed. So success outside, a lot of doubt on the inside. That's a mistaken identity. Um, of course, I did all the things I was told to do. I filled journals, trying to understand myself. I still, every once in a while, I catch myself on my phone, my iPhone. There's an app called the Journal, and once in a while it'll pop up and see if it tries to draw me into journaling on my phone. And sometimes I think I should do that, but I mean, I do not journal. I tell people to stay away from journaling. That's a whole other conversation. And by the way, today I'm going to say some things that might bother you. They might piss you off. You might really strongly disagree with me, and that's okay. Because some of the things that I believe now are different than what I believed before, because I found out what I believed before was not actually true. But like I said earlier, if you believe something, then to you it must be true. And so if some things I say today bother you and you know, piss you off or you disagree with me, I want you to pay attention to that reaction, okay? Because chances are I'm poking at you and I'm poking with the truth and it's poking something in you. So I fill journals trying to understand myself, page after page of thoughts, questions, more confusion. I read all the books I was told I should. I did all the exercises that were supposed to work. I wasn't avoiding growth. I was searching, but searching without understanding who you are feels like walking in circles. I felt like I was going down a rabbit hole or falling into the pit of self-pity. You gotta be really careful. Don't get too close to the edge of the pit of self-pity because the edges are crumbly and it's easy to fall in. Um, Before my time with Bob Proctor, though, I came across a book called Psycho-Cybernetics years earlier, and I read it a few times, but it was so complicated. If you can see that, here's my version, and you can see how yellowed and old the pages are. And I'd read this book quite a few times, but it was so complicated. And I often hear people, they read this book and they go, they have a hard time with it, a hard time getting through. I said, I know. I said, do you want me to tell you why you have a hard time going through it? And of course, they'd like to know that, and I can tell you about that if we have time. Now, if I were you, I wouldn't go out and I wouldn't go out and buy this book. Okay. I wouldn't do that. Maybe not yet. You might have the book, and I wouldn't run back and pick it back up if I were you. Again, we don't want to make sure that you're misdiagnosing the problem. But then I went to work with Bob, and he had spoken about this book, and he had touched on self-image. Bob Proctor didn't really talk a lot about self-image. His main message was about prosperity and wealth and earning more money, and what he called the paradigm that was getting in your way from that actually happening. But he mentioned Maxwell Maltz and psychocybernetics in some of his lessons. And so I just continued. I continued to read the book over and over and over because of the promise that it offered on the back cover. But the promised outcomes still remained elusive for me. I'm just looking at the back of the book here. Psychocybernetics. This is 1960. It's the new way to put more living in your life. Discover the success mechanism within you. Improve your self-image and turn the key to a better life. Dehypnotize yourself from false beliefs. Learn to use the power of rational thinking. Do it yourself tranquilizers that bring peace of mind. Remove emotional scars and give yourself an emotional facelift. And learn to turn crisis into a creative opportunity. He said, happiness is a habit. Learn to acquire it through psychocybernetics. Well, I was not acquiring happiness through psychocybernetics. The outcomes still remained elusive. And then I also talked to a lot of people who read the book, and they were in the same spot I was. They didn't quite weren't able to get it or really be able to understand it. And this book is extremely instructional. It's very scientific. It was written by a doctor. He was a medical doctor, and he was also a plastic surgeon, and he embarked on a journey of trying to solve a problem that he was experiencing with his patients. and he ended up working with German scientists and all kinds of research. And it's all in this book. It's highly instructional, but man, oh man, it was really, really confusing. But then one day I was reading it, and finally there was one section that stopped me. And it said, if you can't force a new self-image just by deciding to. So what I was hearing in the self-help world was just act like the person you want to become. Um, Pretend you're that person. I met a lot of people that really got that wrong. Like, and Bob sometimes had to tell people, like, it's not like you want to go out and overspend and, blow the budget on on your credit card thinking that the money is going to come in. But a lot of people made a lot of financial mistakes acting like the person they want to become. And then of course they had to live with those mistakes because things didn't get better. They didn't earn the money. They actually ended up even a worse place. Um, and so, again, everybody's kind of saying just act like this person and write out a self-image statement. And so people would talk about my self-image script, and people had different names for them, and vision boards and all these different things. But what Maltz really pointed out, this is what struck me, is that you can't force a new self-image just because you decide to. Okay. There has to be truth. There has to be understanding. There has to be a moment where the old picture no longer feels real or right. And then it said something really powerful. It said that every human being has been engineered for success by their creator, which means if you believe you're unworthy or meant to fail, that picture cannot be true. Okay. Now you might think it's true, and you can give me all kinds of evidence like I could. I mean, look what I did, and look where I am, and look what's going on. Poor me, right? But it's contradictory to the truth. Actually, let me read in the back of chapter 2. This is where I found it. Um, he he's explaining. Chapter 2 is called Discovering Your Success Mechanism. So you'll hear me later in the week, tomorrow especially, we're going to talk about life made simple, what really works, a much easier way to pursue your goals and deal with the problems that come up in your life. And so he said here, he said, the unhappy failure type personality cannot develop a new self-image by pure willpower or by arbitrarily just deciding to. There must be some grounds, some justification, some reason for deciding that the old picture of self is in error and that a new picture is appropriate. You cannot merely imagine a new self-image. You can't just write a new self-image. You can't just visualize a new self-image. You can't just act like the person you want to become with a new self-image. You can't just imagine a new self-image unless you feel that it's based upon truth. Experience has shown that when a person does change their self-image, they have the feeling that for one reason or another, they see or realize the truth about themselves. So that's what we really got to get at. We got to get rid of the things that are buried in your unconscious mind from your upbringing, from your programming, from your failures, from your successes, from your experiences. They're all filed and cataloged away in your unconscious mind. And the bottom line is if you set a goal or you set out to achieve something, if you don't believe you can do it, you're not going to do it. That's the bottom line. And the people that do it, and why they take off like a rocket, it's not because they read Psycho-Cybernetics and they figured it out. It's because they didn't have any beliefs in their unconscious mind that would get in their way. When I went to work with Bob, so I was a student first. I was a client, and then I heard about this opportunity to become a coach. And so I sold my business I had been in for many, many years. And this is after the story had come out and I was starting to do speaking. I was invited to go down to an event in Los Angeles. There was only 15 people in the room. The person that got me into the coaching program said, Doug, there's a chance if you come, you can spend some time with Bob. It's a unique opportunity. You get to work with him one-on-one, what's called the hot seat. And I was the first guy in the hot seat in this room of 15 people. Spent a couple hours with Bob on the hot seat. And the um, where was I going with that? there was a point to my story. That happens even to me. 63 years old, and I forget my story. Um, it'll come back to me. I'll come back to it. The point is that you you can't just make up a self-image, okay? We've got to uncover the things that aren't true about us, and then we are free. And then you can set goals, and then you can really make things happen, okay? Um, Anybody done this? Has anybody tried, to write a new self-image, approach pursuing something, but it just didn't feel real. Like you didn't really feel it was possible. I know a lot of people, they tell me about their goals and the different things they've written out in their own personal development, and they don't really believe it. Oftentimes I hear people, I'm writing affirmations, but it just feels mechanical. That's the words they'll use. Or I'm writing out gratitude, but I'm not really emotionally involved in what I'm writing. I don't know if anybody can relate to this. Oh, good. So you guys can relate to the brain fog. I see that. That's good. Yeah, thank you. I'm sure it'll come back. All you got to do, folks, if you ever get caught up like that in a presentation, just relax. Just remain as loose as ashes and relax your mind. Don't worry about it. Don't get embarrassed. Who cares what anybody thinks? And your mind will bring it back up. So if I need to make that point, I might have been making a point that I really didn't need to make, but I really need to make that point. And it's important as I go forward in this conversation, my mind will bring it back up. Now, listen, there's a spiritual side to this. Okay, so in the personal development, self-help world, they told us certain things that we need to do, right? Um, and Malt says in this book, every human being's been engineered for success by their creator, which means if you believe you're unworthy or you're meant to fail, then that picture cannot be true. You really got to get that straight. Now, in Scripture, Scripture says, this is Romans 12:2, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Now, when I first saw that piece of scripture, I had not yet really began my relationship with God and getting to know this Jesus dude. My friend Pete calls him the Jesus dude, and the disciples, the other dudes that he recruited, the fisher of men that Jesus made them. I'd seen this, I'd heard this piece of scripture. I didn't really actually know theologically what it actually meant. When I read it, that really, really struck me. And man, oh man, today people are conforming to the patterns of this world. And so we need to renew our minds. That's what this whole reset process is, to renew your mind. And Jesus said, you will know the truth. This is John 8:32. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And so what we got to do is we got to get to the truth of who we really are. And the way you do that is we get to the truth of who we're not. Okay? It's way easier that way. Okay? It's there's no effort, you don't have to pretend, there's no performance, it's just pure truth. Does that give you any sense of relief? The truth shall make you free. One thing I wrote about in my book is how exhausting pretending was. Pretending to be confident, pretending to be okay, pretending to have the answers. Like I was in a senior position, people looked up to me, and I had to make sure I had all the answers. In some respects, that helped me because if I was going to say I had the answer, I wanted to make sure I did have the answer. So I learned a lot. I've got great retention in my mind. I was about to say I've got a wonderful memory, but clearly not that little spot earlier in the conversation. But I uh, uh, I did it again. Oh my God, this is funny. There's somebody out there trying to trip me up. I was pretending all these things, okay? And finally, when I started to see that the truth could make me free, I started to feel free. Now, most people think they're searching for who they are. Okay, this is the point I wanted to make. Most people think they're searching for who they are, but they're not. Okay, they're searching for relief from who they think they are. Okay, let me repeat that. you may be searching for relief from who you think you are. And the real discovery comes when you uncover what is not true. Because when you see who you aren't, then who you are becomes obvious. So here's the first thing I did. What did I actually do? So I didn't wake up and fix my life. Okay. I stopped striving and straining and struggling to fix my life. I didn't suddenly become confident. I didn't solve all of my problems. I did something much, much simpler. I just stopped trying to become someone that I wasn't. Okay. I just stopped pushing myself, trying to be, because when the light bulb went off with Maltz here and throughout other parts of the book, there's so many key points in here that really finally struck me. And I'd read the book. I'm sure I've read this book at least 30 times. I was doing a podcast interview and somebody wanted me to talk about this. They had heard me talking. I said, "Would you come on and do a podcast? Because we're doing this in our book club, right?" And so as I was reading these things, all of a sudden this book got really simple. Because what I was doing is I was getting rid of the things about me that weren't true. I was stopped trying to be somebody I wasn't, and then everything started to clear. It's like yesterday. I said near the end of the conversation, after Bob had passed, I sat down to write the book. It just came out of me so easy. I wrote the book so quickly, so easily, and I gave it to my publisher. And the editors go, "Oh my God, this is a fantastic book." So I stopped trying to become someone. What I did is I started questioning the picture I had of myself. Okay. I wasn't judging myself. I wasn't fighting the picture. I wasn't even trying to change the picture. All I started to do was just notice the picture. And then I had a few close friends, and Jay and Pete. They introduced me to a relationship with God. I met God. I got a note from God. God told me I was going to be a father. God started appearing as I was pursuing this relationship and venturing into it. I started to get messages from God, and so I was noticing these things. And Pete and Jay, God bless them, they noticed the good in me. They were subtly and carefully trying to lead me away from what I believed to be true about personal development and all the things that I had learned. And they were gracious about it. They let me find my own way, but they would kind of invite me to a new look from a different angle at a different picture. And for the first time, I wondered, what if this picture isn't accurate? That question created space. And in that space, relief began. So I changed the questions I was asking myself. I stopped asking myself, what's wrong with me? I remember what Malt said is you're engineered for success by your creator, and God does not put out faulty product. And as I was talking to Pete and Jay, and I was talking to God, and I was learning about this Jesus dude, as Pete calls him. More and more of that started to see a much different picture. I started to see the picture that Maltz had propositioned early in the book. And I figured out that the hidden problem was causing all my problems. The hidden problem that was causing all my problems. Okay. So I had external problems. You have external problems, right? My external problems caused me internal problems. So I was having problems in my life, and it created internal problems, negative emotions. Fear, doubt, worry, anxiety, guilt, resentment, anger, shame, all these negative emotions because of my external problems, which caused me problems in my health and my mental well-being. But the real internal problem, okay, and this is what we're going to get at in this reset process. The real internal problem was that I was pretending to be somebody I wasn't, and the internal picture I had of me was conflicting with who I was pretending to be or who I thought I wanted to be. Okay. And so the real problem that we all have that causes all of our problems is something that the great Dale Carnegie said. We have this internal problem. We have this view or picture of ourselves that's inaccurate, and that's how we view the world and how we view our problems and react to our problems that causes more problems. But I was reading the great book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living by Dale Carnegie. He, of course, wrote How to Win Friends and Influence People. That was probably his most popular book. But he wrote How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. He was writing in the early 1900s, and he was writing it because he was miserable, he said. And I remember early in the book, he said the fundamental problem that we have in the world today that's causing all kinds of psychoses, neuroses, and complexes, mental health problems. The fundamental problem we have in the world today is people are trying to be someone they're not. Now, it's over 100 years almost since he started writing that book. And do we ever have a major problem with complexes, neuroses, and psychoses? And we have all kinds of industries just that profit off the problem. The main problem is we're trying to be somebody that we're not. Let me stop here and take a look and see what's in the chat here. That's good. All right, we're going to bring this in for Elaine. I've got an action step for you today, and then I'll tell you about where we're taking yesterday into today and then into tomorrow. So this is a remedy. We're putting building blocks together here. A very, very simple puzzle. Okay. And so tonight, what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring up the worksheet. Actually, let me show that on the screen here. All right, can you guys see that okay on the screen? Hopefully. All right, so like Nancy said at the beginning, to access these action steps, go to the portal. That's where the replay is. That's where the action step is. There's a link that will bring you inside the Facebook group. Okay. So if you're not in the Facebook group yet, then that's your access in. Go to the portal, click on the action step. It'll take you to the Facebook group, and then there'll be a post that'll be pinned at the top of the feed with this action step, and you can print this PDF off. Okay. So here's what I want you to do today. I want you to take some time and sit down. I want you to reflect on these two questions. Perhaps you've caved in or conformed to others' demands to avoid problems. Maybe you've become a people pleaser to avoid conflict. Perhaps you've been convinced it's better to pretend to be somebody you're not. And so I want you to write two lists. Okay. Number one, who do you think you should be? Who do you think you should be? I got to do this and I got to do that and I got to do this. Just think of all the ways that you pretend to be somebody you're not because you think you have to, you need to, you should. Okay. So make that list, whatever you can think of. And folks, don't labor over these action steps. Okay. Just whatever comes to mind is what's supposed to come to mind. Okay. You don't have to go digging. All right. The question I ask really good questions and it opens up your mind and answers will come out. And there's no right or wrong answer. This is not a test, okay? Just write down whatever comes to mind. But do give each question at least a couple minutes thought. Just sit there and think about the question and write a couple things down and then ask yourself the question again, who do I think I should be? Who do I think? Oh yeah, da da da. And just fill up that list as much as you can in a short period of time. Number two, who are you afraid you are? Who are you, or pardon me, who you're afraid you are? You might be afraid that, this is what your life is going to be like. You're going to remain a victim. You might be unhealthy and you think that's the way it's going to be for the rest of your life. You might not be doing really well in your career and this is as good as it gets. Okay. I want you to think about who you're afraid that you are. And then what I want you to ask, what if neither of these things on these lists is true? Okay. What if most or none of this is true? And I want you to jot down some comments and then post your comments into the Facebook group or take a picture and drop it there, and we will take a look at it. Okay. We are watching all your work, folks, as well. Obviously, one thing we want you to do is to participate. Like Nancy said, you put a little bit in, you get a little bit out. You put a lot in, you get a lot out. So it's all cause and effect. Action reaction. So I got to just get you to take an action step. And these are little action steps. They're not big, but they do cause big change. Maybe not right away, but if I just change your thinking by 2 or 3 degrees, just 2 or 3 degrees, it's not much now, but in the long run, it's really a lot. Okay. So participate and do the action step. And of course, we're watching because we want to give away a book. But more importantly, we want to learn what's going on in your mind and some of the things that you're mistaken about and how you see yourself and how you feel about yourself. So today, if today gave you even a small sense of relief or understanding, type in yes in the chat. Okay. If this just gave you any sense of relief, understanding, and that's really what we're here for. Okay. Because relief is often the first sign that something is actually finally making sense. Okay. I'd rather provide you with relief than motivation. Okay. I'd rather release some pressure than build up some inspiration. Okay. We've got to get rid of the things that are internally that are bogging you down and hindering your process. And so tonight, it's not about changing your life. It's about understanding today why trying to change has felt so hard. So you weren't lazy, you weren't weak, you weren't lacking discipline. You were trying to become someone you're not instead of understanding yourself. And I remember talking to a gentleman. He said, Doug, life is really simple. There's just 3 simple things you need to do. Know yourself, like yourself, and be yourself. And that's where we want to go. All right. And it's pretty hard to pursue goals and get ahead and live a happy life. The promises that Maltz offered me on the back of this book to reach the ultimate goal of peace of mind, you're not going to get there if you're pretending to be somebody that you're not. Okay. Tomorrow we're going to take the next step because when you stop trying to be someone you're not, life starts to feel simpler, right? So part of the life made simple piece is I've got to get you to stop trying to be somebody that you're not. It's not easier overnight, but it does become clear very, very quickly. And that's really what you need is that if you're walking around lost in the forest or lost in a fog or lost in the rabbit hole, okay, what you need first is clarity. Okay, clarity comes from awareness and understanding. Things then become clear, and then it becomes simple, and then it becomes easy because you stop forcing things, you stop overthinking every single step, you stop chasing goals that don't even feel like they're yours, and then progress begins to feel natural instead of exhausting. That's a much better way to live. And so tomorrow we're going to talk about life made simple and what really works. I'm going to show you a simpler way to pursue your goals without being overwhelmed. And I'm going to share the real do's and don'ts of getting ahead and why what you've tried hasn't worked the way that you hoped. You'll understand how trying to be someone you're not creates stress and struggle and strain, and how clear thinking and self-acceptance makes progress feel lighter. That's where we're heading. And most importantly, you're going to begin tapping into your own personal power, your hidden power. Not the power to become someone new, folks, but your hidden power to live as who you already are. And that's way better. Okay. I'll see you tomorrow. And Rad is going to take us home. Thank everybody. And thank you, Rad. And thank you, Nancy.
Good evening and good afternoon. Doug, 3 words I need to say. Thank you, thank you, thank you. How good was that? Be honest, I bet something, a little spark just lit up inside of you. That was the feeling I had when I was preparing my self-image back when I was going through the reset program. And what's definitely worth remembering for me from today's session is that your self-image will only work if it's rooted in something that's already true about you. You cannot build your identity out of fantasy because otherwise your mind will simply just not buy it. So now quickly to wrap up. If you want to watch the replay of today's session so that you can go over things that you might have missed, head over to the portal. There should also be an option available on the YouTube replay to switch on the subtitles in your own language. Most of these popular languages should be available. Don't quote me if you don't find yours. I hope that won't be the case. The replay should be available by 3 p.m. of Easter time. That is 8 p.m. UK and 9 p.m. for Europe. Do not panic if you can't find it by then. It's definitely going to be delivered. Don't worry. And now, if you need some help, if you have questions, connect with one of our reset guides and head to the Facebook group. Remember, tomorrow's live session starts at the same time. It's titled Life Made Simple, What Really Works. And on that day 3, you will learn simpler ways to pursue and achieve your goals. Doug will share the real do's and don'ts of getting ahead and why you haven't so far. Trust me, you don't want to miss that one. So thank you again for being with us. Have a great rest of your day or evening, and see you tomorrow.